My lesson will have to do about place value, and it will be done at the beginning of the school year with real students. However, right now, with it being summer vacation, we don't have any students in here. So this is just going to be kind of a brief introduction to what it is I'm going to be doing in the fall. So my focus questions for this lesson are going to be how many different ways can a number be written, as well as how are the different ways the numbers can be written all related, with the learning target being read and write multi-digit whole numbers using base 10 numerals. So before the lesson even begins, the students will rate themselves on a scale of on a 1 to 4 scale, where they will see the I can statement. Every student will have one of these on their desk, as well as it'll be projected on the screen, which is currently down, and on my whiteboard. And they'll see the I can statement, which is I can read and write multi-digit whole numbers using base 10 numerals and number names. And then they will rate themselves on a 1 to 4 scale, with 1 being that they cannot read or write any multi-digit whole numbers, and 4 being that they can read and write whole digit numbers using base 10 numerals and number names. They get all the problems correct on their own, and they can even help others. In my school, we use this scale quite frequently, with 1 being the lowest score, 3 being where you want every student to end up, which is I can fluently read and write multi-digit whole numbers using base 10 numerals and number names. I can get the majority of the problems correct on my own with no help. This 4 is above and beyond. Some students might use this 4, but for the most part you want to see all students ending up in this 3. So the day before this lesson actually takes place, the students would have had an introduction to this lesson. I will be showing them what standard form is, what word form is. I will be doing a lot of the demonstrations. I will be doing a lot of the talking on this first day. But they will also be using their whiteboards on the first day to practice after I introduce it. So the students should be at a 1 or a 2 at the beginning of the second day lesson that I will be actually recording. I expect to see most of the students at a 1 or a 2 because we would have just started the lesson. So they will rate themselves at the very beginning on the scale of 1 to 2. Then I will review what I talked about yesterday. And to do that, I will show a quick video clip. It's actually a song clip, and that will help to differentiate between the multiple intelligences in my room. So those who are auditory and visual will really enjoy the music clip. And then I will also review here on a whiteboard, and with a whiteboard review as a whole class for those students that enjoy more kinesthetic learning and hands-on experiences. So after the video clip, as I said, we will review with a whiteboard. And typically what I do is I write a problem here with my Elmo on the whiteboard, and I will do a problem. I'll project it for the whole class to see. And we will do a couple of these whole group. Then they will do a couple of problems with people sitting next to them, and then slowly they will do a couple of problems on their own. Now, while this is going on, I constantly assess and monitor my class for understanding to see if it looks like most of the class is understanding what I'm teaching. If they aren't, I continue on with more examples, or I might stop them and do a few more whole group examples. But if they are, which they typically are by this point, starting to grasp it, I will do more individual practice and then slowly transition to the next part of the lesson. The next part of the lesson will be where the students are actually going to be working with their clock buddies. Now, I saw this clock buddies in one of the materials that we have read in our class, and what it is there's so many different partners based on the clock, and one of those partners is someone that is actually at their readiness level, which is the partner that they will be working on for this lesson. They will have an actual worksheet that is, the link is on my lesson plan, so if you'd like to click on that, you can see that. They will have an actual worksheet that they will then complete with their partners and work on together with their clock buddy. Now, while they're working on this worksheet, I will be walking around the room and again assessing and monitoring the understanding of my students. If it seems like 1 or 2 students in this group are not understanding it, I'll stop at that group and explain it to them on a little more one-to-one scale. While I'm walking around, I will have this page on a clipboard, and what this is my observation page. So from my observations, the following students need much more extra support with me, and I'm going to write those few students down. These are the students who really could not do any one-on-one work, are really struggling with what I've taught so far. These are students that are starting to understand and should perform well in the exit slip assessment, which is probably going, I might actually need a few more numbers here because it should be the majority of the classroom. And then these students obviously understand the material and could help others complete today's tasks. So once again, during the whiteboard review, as well as when they're working with their partners, that's what I'm working to fill out. So I'm making my observations and seeing where the students are. When they finish their worksheet with their partner, what I do is I have a key posted to the back board, and they will go back there and actually check their work with their partner. Now, if they get them all correct, they will move on to the next step. However, if they don't get all the problems correct, they are required to circle it while they're at the back board and then go back to their regular seats to rework the problem with their partner. They can't stay back there because obviously they would just copy the answers from the back board onto their paper, and that's not what I want them to do. So they can only come up to me to move on to the next point after they have 100% completed accuracy and it's 100% correct. So the next step of the lesson is when they come to me right here, I will see that they have their paper completed. I will see that it is checked with 100% of their scores correct, and then I will give them their exit slip ticket. Their exit slip tickets are differentiated as well. We have exit slip A and exit slip B. The students will not know the difference between slip A and slip B, but I do. And how I know this is by my observations that I was talking about up here. The students that are in exits that would receive exit slip A are going to be these students that are starting to understand and should perform well on the exit slip assessment. Also, these students up here that need much more extra support with me would receive that exit slip, but they will also be meeting with me, and I already know that ahead of time, probably the next day or so. These students that completely understand the material, are answering all my questions, are helping other people, they're going to receive exit slip B. So it is my actual exit slips are differentiated by readiness levels. So exit slip A just has fewer problems. This one has 3 problems, 3 where they put into Word, 3 where they put it into standard form that I expect them to be able to complete. And this one has 6 Word form, 6 standard form. So once again, these would probably be the students that would receive a 4 on the graded rubric, or would rate themselves as a 4. These students with exit slip A would probably be my 2 and 3 students when looking at that rubric. So I'll hand the students whatever exit slip it is that they're required or that I want them to have, and they will perform and work on this activity alone, individually at their desk. We will then be, I lost my spot. We will then check this together, or not together, excuse me, they'll hand these in to me when they are completed, and I will go through them making piles of whether or not they do understand the material or they don't, or if they're somewhere in between, and that will help me to determine where to move on for the next day's lesson. The last thing that the students will do is they will re-rate themselves based on that 1 to 4 scale that I talked about at the very beginning. I did leave a spot on this paper. However, though, they're going to be turning these in. So what I will do is give them a sticky note or some type of other assessment, whether they raise their hands, and they will show me if they have progressed on that scale. And they should. Typically, by the end of this lesson, I should have the majority of the class at 3s and 4s, with maybe a few lingering in the 2s, and hopefully none in the 1s is my goal for this lesson. So once again, my my lesson is differentiated in many different ways. It is differentiated in the fact that I taught to multiple intelligences at the very beginning of the lesson, and then throughout the whole lesson itself, it's differentiated by readiness levels. Because where the students fall on the scale, as well as my own observations, kind of helps for me to, and for them to realize where they need to move next with tomorrow's lesson. So that is just a general overview of the lesson. It was very, very quick. Of course, when the students come in the fall, I do slow down. It's a lot more in depth as I am able to observe the students, and it should be a much more quality video at that time. Thank you very much.